I just want to leave off with just kind of one final question or sentiment. Is like, what do you see um, the future of Alhambra given a situation like a pandemic like this, and then that pandemic leading off into this sort of depression or recession? Do you feel optimistic about what's going to be happening in the next? Because this is something that I've talked to Chris Olson about, is that just because we're wearing masks now and then we're trying to get ready for a treatment and vaccine doesn't mean that once we get those things that the pandemic is over. There are going to be um ramifications and things that we're gonna still see like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Like if we're thinking about '08, the reason why we don't have certain services in schools, there's reasons why there's cut stuff, because the housing market and all of those things happen in '08. So do you feel confident in the city I wouldn't say surviving, but like what do you see
Yeah.
Alhambra's position is after 10 years after COVID?
If we do the right things, Brian, we will come out of the pandemic stronger than before in many ways. Because pandemics, number one, are life altering and they're generational. Anybody who thinks that pandemics will just, after one or two things happen, will go back to normal is kidding themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic flu in this country in 1918 had ramifications all the way 50 years after that. Okay, the whole generation that it hit, whether it's how people save, whether it's how people take personal responsibility, whether it's how people become more aware of what's around them, things they had taken for granted. Okay, they suddenly become aware of, oh my gosh, my life depends on a lot more than what I thought it did. Pandemics have into our subconscious, it has seeped in, okay, and it's not going away. So I don't think that there is a return to whatever the past was. I can't tell you whether we'll be wearing masks for 6 months. I personally think we'll be wearing masks for a long time, okay? I personally think we're never going back to shaking hands with people as a greeting for a long time, So pandemics will be altering. So that is not up to us. What is up to us is how we recognize the lessons learned, the strengthening of the sort of social fabric, and how we build structures to deal with that. In that sense, pandemics can be opportunities. That's the way I see it. In other words, they have just exposed what was always there. They have just exposed the weaknesses that we were kind of papering over, right? And now, I think that will become an opportunity if we can say, yes. I'll give you an example that maybe is not popular, and we're seeing it in cities, Brian, but I don't know the ramification. We talk about high-density housing, but I don't know that people have a lot of stomach to going back and living in very cramped, stacked housing right now. People actually like the idea of a little more separation, right?
Right, right.
Are they going to live on top of each other? I mean, that will affect housing. That will affect the very things we're talking about, density and, inclusionary housing. So those things are not clear how and what lessons will be learned. I don't think we're going to get a vaccine that's going to be good forever. I think it's going to be more like the flu vaccine. You get it, it's good for 2-3 months. You got to take it all over again, right? Because that's why every year you take the flu vaccine. It's not that you get it once like you get it for measles at childhood and it gives you immunity for the rest of your life. So this coronavirus is trickier than that. So I think we'll have a period of time when we have to draw lessons. It really exposes. I like pandemics because what I've seen is I'm an optimist. I like it that it is imposing on us a sense that we owe it to other people to be responsible ourselves, right? This act of even wearing a mask, that you're doing it for yourself, but you're really doing it for others, okay? I think a lot of, when we don't have to, we become kind of a little selfish. We think the world is made for us. We think, we were born on, we are on third base and because, we hit the triple, and not that we were just born there, So yeah. we have a tendency to think that when good things happen to us, it's because we did it. And when bad things happen to us, it's because the other guy's fault, right? We get into that mindset, which is, I think, going to be different because we think that it is, I know it sounds like a cliche because you see it everywhere. We're all in this together. Well, part of it is true. We are, because we are not, we still breathe the air that everybody else breathes into and out. But
Mm-hmm.
how we strengthen ultimately people who are likely to be left behind is going to be a test of our city. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, we will demand, I think, personal responsibility from people who can do more, and they should do more and take care of themselves. My wife's a nurse. I mean, she tells me every day, if you can't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of others, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can't. If you're going to be sick yourself, you can't take care of people who are sick. So I think it will be all those things. I think it's an opportunity. I think we'll come out of this a better city, at least with a better awareness of all the things that are possible in our city. But that does mean we have to change leadership, or at least allow more voices into leadership. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
grassroots is really, in that sense, there are a lot of great organizations who are focused on housing, who are focused on social justice, who are focused on a lot of things. Ours is even more fundamental, which is we want transparency in government, right?
Right.
But all these other things can happen. You know what I'm saying? If you have transparency in government and clean, non-corrupt government, then all these other good ideas by other far more smart people can actually be debated, and thoughtful decisions can be made. That's what we're trying to do.